Hello, I'm the Meaty Dunce, and in this video we're going to speculate what happens in Avengers Endgame. As of right now, I have not seen Endgame. I've only seen trailers, TV spots, that one scene from ABC, and those leaked photos hinting at time travel. As it happens, I've also been working on an Avengers fan fiction called Watched by Death. Right now, I only have 8 parts up, so I've uploaded an unlisted video detailing parts 9 and beyond for when I get close to finishing it. As I speculate Endgame's turn of events, I will likely be using Watched by Death as a reference point, so I'll likely be drawing from my fanfic to come up with these theories. Therefore, I'm issuing a spoiler alert for Watched by Death. Now, because of the possibility that one or more of my predictions of Endgame could come true, I'm issuing a potential spoiler alert for Avengers Endgame. First on the list is how the battle against Thanos plays out. It appears that this battle will take place early on in the movie as Captain Marvel rallies the troops to fight Thanos. Given how Captain Marvel's powers have been heavily hyped, I rate the possibility of Captain Marvel dying in this fight at 40%. Hey, it's a time travel movie. They'll just undo it. Now, I rate the possibility of her surviving and Thanos winning to be 40%. And if you're wondering, yes, I'm pulling these numbers out of a hat. The remaining 20% is Thanos is actually defeated and possibly killed in this early battle, as suggested by one Redditor whose post I'll leave in the description below. Now, if the Russos ended up going this route, then they'd risk giving us another snook. Thanos has been heavily hyped not only in Infinity War, but in the marketing for Endgame, so killing him off early on would be risky. This early battle in Endgame where the good guys go to fight Thanos contrasts my approach in Watched by Death, where the good guys are too busy fighting the Mandarin, and then, once the Mandarin was seemingly subdued, Thanos comes in. Regarding the Mandarin in Endgame, 30% chance he will appear in some form, and 70% chance he won't. The reason I'm suggesting this is because Endgame might be Iron Man's last movie, Robert Downey Jr.'s last outing in the MCU. The Mandarin is Iron Man's most iconic villain in the comics. After the debacle that was Iron Man 3, Marvel released All Hail the King, with the hint that the real Mandarin is out there. If he doesn't appear in Endgame, is the real Mandarin just gonna kidnap Ben Kingsley and twiddle his thumbs the rest of his life? Of course, I rate his potential at 30% because his appearance still strikes me as a long shot. So let's talk about other villains, like Loki, who was seemingly killed off at the beginning of Infinity War. 40% chance he's dead and stays dead. At some point, Marvel is going to want other villains to take the spotlight, so eventually Loki's death will have to be real. The only way to convince us of that is to not bring him back. 30% chance he's dead, but is brought back in some form. Endgame is likely 3 hours long. We've only seen the first half hour of it. A lot can happen in the huge chunk we haven't seen. 29.99999% chance Loki faked his death. Again, he's faked his death before, and he probably had some contingency plan in place. 0.000001% chance Endgame will do something similar to what I did and bring Loki back as a sorceress named Serena. I mean, there is precedence in the comics, not to mention Loki dabbing in the mystic arts. However, if Marvel does bring Loki back, they're bringing back the Hiddleston version, not the version I created. But, Kevin Feige, if you're watching this, I highly suggest bringing some version of Serena into the MCU. Possibly as the hidden daughter of Sif and Loki. Maybe have her in Doctor Strange too. After all, you want more women in the MCU, yet the one main sorceress in Doctor Strange, you killed her off. The ladies of the MCU are gonna need reinforcements.
Now is the time to bring in our reinforcements.
Speaking of reinforcements, Thanos is gonna need some after his Black Order was called off. First we have Squidward, then Proxima Midnight, then Cull Obsidian, then Corvus Glaive, dead. Thanos is all alone. He's gonna need some help. Enter Hela, seemingly killed by Surtur at the end of Thor Ragnarok. Hela is the goddess of death, daughter of Odin and Frigga.
Heidi told me that I had a half-sister.
Wait, if we accept Odin as her father, then Frigga wasn't her mother. Then who was? Long story short, the odds of Hela appearing in Endgame are 80 to 20%. Now, why would I make such a bold claim? Well, Thanos' need for help, Hela's status as the goddess of death, and the likelihood Hela might be in this scene. Yes, I predict that Tony's vision will play out in some form in Endgame. It will likely be Hela that proves to be a match for the Avengers. In fact, the things sticking out of Hulk, they look like the very things Hela throws at people willy-nilly. I also predict that Thanos will also play a role in this fight, as he will be the one to break Cap's shield. By the way, this is something I'm planning for Watched by Death, probably in part 14. I already put it in my unlisted video laying out my plans for the fanfic. I quickly want to talk about Stan Lee's cameo. I think Endgame will feature his last cameo, and it should really count. My plan in Watched by Death is upon Cap's death, Lee appears to Steve as the one above all, and Lee reunites Steve with Peggy so the couple could have their final dance. I honestly cannot come up with a better final cameo for Stan Lee. I think there's 20% chance Endgame will do this as well. I think there's a 40% chance Lee will show up as part of these group therapy sessions addressing the decimation. 30% chance he'll be a watcher, 15% chance he'll be on Xandar, and 15% chance it'll be something else we haven't thought of. We don't exactly know how the decimation is undone. The most popular theories revolve around the quantum realm and a second snap with the Infinity Stones. The Watched by Death takes a different approach, in which victims are brought back one by one. Even if they mass-produce these machines to bring decimation victims back, it will still take decades to undo. I mean, there have to be consequences for losing. They can't just pull a solution out of a hat and make everything right. 30% chance they go back in time and prevent the decimation from happening. 30% chance they get their own gauntlet with stones and undo the snap. 25% chance they don't undo the snap and they end up in different universes. 10% chance they go to the Watched by Death route, and 5% chance that Thanos has a change of heart and undoes it himself. Hey, in the comics, Thanos is notoriously his own worst enemy. Before I wrap up, here are a few more bold predictions I'm going to make. During the battle against Thanos, the Avengers board the Sanctuary 2 and Thanos kills Captain America in a manner similar to that iconic comic strip, hence the broken shield in Age of Ultron. I also predict that Hela will kill Hulk during that skirmish. It would be the completion of Hulk's arc, and how else do you explain why the Hulk is lying there like he's a mammoth that just got hunted? My next bold prediction? During the Battle of New York, Endgame Tony tells past Steve Rogers that one of his friends is still alive. It might be the reason that Cap recognized Bucky during that scene in Winter Soldier. If I were Cap in that moment, I would have thought that the Winter Soldier reminded me of Bucky. I would not have assumed that he was Bucky, and boy was Cap lucky that his assumption was correct, because that movie would have ended very differently had Cap's assumption been wrong. And that's basically it. Planning to watch Endgame as soon to see how right I was and how wrong I was. I'd like to speculate more, but I have to work tomorrow.